And there she goes.
Streaming.
Hello?
Streaming.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What are you doing right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Everything you're doing is
good.
bad. I want you to know that.
Okay, thank you.
What are you guys doing?
Paul, will
Yo.
you pray for us, please?
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day that you have created. Thank you that we could all be here. And I pray that every one of us would feel better, especially Drew, and that this evening would go off without any hitches and glitches, but that it would be a fantastic time, a well-remembered time for the good things and not the bad things that we would love to share and everyone would love to. But may you ultimately be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Paul.
Amen.
Awesome sauce. Let's see. It's gonna be a little
There you
challenging
go,
for
stealing my words.
me to awesome sauce.
He made that up. He copyrighted that back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. You
gotta pay-
copyright
you gotta-
awesome sauce.
Yes, you owe me 25 cents. Actually, now that you've said it 3 or 4 times, you're up to about $1.50.
Oh my gosh. I don't believe you.
No, he's saying sauce backwards, so it's actually
Wait
sauce,
till
not
the
sauce.
lawyers come.
My gosh, is what I have to
Once
say.
the lawyers come, it'll be all over.
Great. That's wonderful. Why don't I see?
You know what? It'll be, darn it, I can't find it. Where is it?
I mean, as much money as the people who owned Happy Birthday to You made.
Right.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well, that's what I always got about NFTs. You know, it's like, seriously, you own it, great, but someone can copy it. Now, you're only going to get money from it if you sue them.
Yep.
And what person has the money to buy a lawyer to go sue them and to get what money? And it's like,
For a JPEG.
just for a JPEG.
I mean, that's a fair
exactly.
point. Fair point. All right, guys. Now I should go through my checklist because I haven't.
I was
done
about to
that.
say, you haven't done the checklist yet.
All right.
That's good. Let's do it.
I think everyone's hours levels. We got that part. Does anyone have a stop? I know, Celeste, you need to be done by like we said 10:30 your time. About
Yeah, that's probably the latest I can do.
Okay. Anyone else
in
have a
less than
hard
2
stop
hours.
time? Like that's sooner than that.
And I can always dip before the
Spiritual
spiritual
speculation.
speculations. Yeah.
I was going to say she could always dip before then. She gets tired.
Let's see. Paul, you did get the mind meld and technicals?
Yeah.
Does everyone have one like and a classic maker, one dislike and a tragic maker?
Yes.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly. Okay.
Yeah, mostly.
Those are all off.
I just don't have one for the trivia thing. I have no clue what line would be a good biography thing.
I like the aliens reference, though. Mostly.
There's your line. Let's see. Who all has a spiritual speculation? Question.
I do.
Okay, Ken does.
I couldn't think of one. But
Okay.
then my brain was a little mushy this morning.
Okay, I have one. Celeste, did you have one in case you're able to?
I do not.
Okay, Paul.
I'm on Celeste's train.
Okay, that's great. Oh my word. Let's see. You got that. Don't have to worry about that.
I
Okay.
hate trains.
And here I thought the Wampa train was the only thing that stopped at this station.
Do
no.
any of you have a good impression of a celebrity
Or
No.
character.
I am Batman.
or character?
No.
I do have this
Of all the chin joints in all the towns in all the
Dr.
world.
Evil.
she walks into mine.
voice. That's close to Dr. Claw.
Okay, so do you want that from Drew then, Paul?
Not at this time.
Okay.
All right, if you want to give it, that's great.
Don't call us.
I
We'll call you. Drew.
No, I was just trying to think, what could Dr. Claw say? I have to like, that would
Is
be
it-
like, besides,
it-
this stream is sponsored by
I was
Paul
about to
J.
say, I thought that was the script.
Yeah.
That is, but I mean,
I am
with
Batman.
with that character, you'd want something a little bit more like he's a villain, like he's upset that it's sponsored by Paul J.
Okay.
Powers. See, it's this whole workshopping in my head. Like, I'll
Okay,
get
we're
back to you.
we'll
No.
you workshop it while
Of all
we're.
the chin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
I'll get you
Well, that sounds
next
Batman.
time.
Never mind.
Is that Humphrey
fuck,
Bogart, Ken?
Okay, here's
Thank
the
you,
script. This stream is sponsored. No, wait. darn it.
We're going to do it after. Give me
All right.
5 seconds.
Kennethan.com.
Give
There
me
you
5
go.
seconds of silence, guys.
SoCast.podbean.com. That's who's sponsoring
Don't
this.
mute yourself or
Never heard
get
of
yourself.
SoCast. Is that one L or two L's? Ah, just kidding.
It's 1L.
Okay, guys,
I know.
we're being
We can
quiet.
mute ourselves? Is this new?
Don't mute. I'm taking an ambient noise level for all your mics so I can cancel it out after. So just be quiet.
Cancel us.
So just be quiet for 5 seconds. Ready? Here we go.
I'm afraid that you have gone and upset me.
Yup. Okay, starting now. Okay, thank you guys.
Drop this chump!
Oh my gosh, Paul. Okay, guys, so I'm doing the opening skit, and then thumbs up if everyone is ready to go. Oh my gosh, Paul. All right, then here we
That
go.
was me. That was Bonesaw.
In 5, 4, 3. Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this using nothing but this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Thunder Road 3 now online. How can I help you travel through movie space-time today? Course entered. Apollo 13, 1995. Is this correct? Course set. Rewinding in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I am your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz. I am your captain of the former pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com Powers.
We are go for flight.
That's great, Paul. Also, for this discussion of the film Apollo 13, we welcome back aboard Senior Archives Officer Celeste Mora.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, Celeste. In addition, we are glad to have back aboard Junior Archives Officer Drew Dodgen. Hey, Drew.
Roy, we have a problem.
Yeah, you calling me Roy is the problem. And finally, we are grateful to have back Communications Chief Ken Cummings. Hey, Ken.
Well, I'm kind of surprised I'm here. I thought I was jettisoned with the trash. Okay.
What?
I
Why-
survived,
Wow.
Are you clinging on to the side of the ship?
Oh my God.
Yeah, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I did do that. Yeah.
Anyway, now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul.
Always a pain dealing with those Klingons.
Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Apollo 13?
Sure. Apollo 13, The Dark Side of the Moon, was released October
what?
8th in 2020. Not rated, but it runs an hour and 10 minutes.
It really is a movie called that?
Yeah.
Paul.
Dang, I watched the wrong movie. Sorry.
So,
Right back.
so you
I
think?
don't think that's 15 or more years ago.
Let me ask you, Paul. Do you think you have the right movie? Do
Well,
you
yeah.
think you have the right movie?
Why not? You said Apollo 13.
And did I say Dark Side of the Moon after that?
Well, no, but I thought we already reviewed the original one.
Your memory should not
2020.
have returned to you until we did this.
I thought they were slowly coming back. I guess I forgot that.
Paul, we're reviewing 1995's Apollo 13. Can you go back in time and rewatch it?
Oh, fine.
I never knew this one existed.
The
Yeah, me
2020
neither.
version, yeah. But
Oh,
All
well, I
right.
watched The First Man, so I got to watch the wrong movie too. Sorry.
Oh, all right. So Ken's got to go back.
Apollo 11. Yeah, my bad.
All right. Everyone ready?
yes,
Okay.
Paul.
Apollo 13 was released June 30th, 1995. That one?
Yes,
Okay.
that one.
Good. It runs 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's rated PG. It was directed by Ron Howard. And it was written by Jim Lovell, which is that
The
Tom Hanks
astronaut,
character
yes.
himself, along with Jeffrey Kluger, not Kruger, and Williams Broyle Jr., with lead stars being Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, Kevin Bacon, Ed Harris, and music was composed by James Horner. You ready for the box office trivia?
I am ready. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
I'm ready.
Sure.
Awesome. And
Let's
anyone
blast off.
in chat, Bobo, I see you there. You're welcome to join in as well. Go for it, Paul.
All right. Apollo 13 was made for about $52 million and earned over $335 million at the box office.
95.
Wow. Okay.
Given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1995?
Wowza. Okay. Let's start with Celeste. What's your prediction? Oh, in the top 100, just
It came out in 95, so let's go for top 95.
All right, top 90. Okay, Celeste.
42.
42.
Sniped Bobos. Nice.
Ken.
10. That's the countdown
10.
started, so let's say
Ooh.
10.
Oh.
Drew, how about you?
5.
5.
4. 3.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2. 1.
I'm going to guess, I imagine it's higher than this, but just for the fun, I'm going to choose 13.
Oh, good one. That was a good choice.
And Bobo in chat goes against the grain and chooses 2. So
Yeah. So
all right.
minus the 40.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Paul, where did it actually end up?
Well, according to the-numbers.com, Apollo 13 came in at number 6.
Oh, okay.
6. Whoa,
So
good job.
Drew, I think, wins that with 5.
Good job,
well done, Drew. Fantastic. Yes, you win all the marbles, the space marbles. Yeah. Anyway,
go out in space
I
and
lost
collect
mine a
them.
long time ago.
Balls.
I heard lots of things there. I'm not sure I wanted to hear. We're going to continue on, though. Thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind melt or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Apollo 13 flight controllers, give me a go, no go for launch. Booster. Go. Retro. Go. Network. Go. Recovery. Go. We are go for launch.
Apollo 13. A million things could have gone wrong.
Our next broadcast will be
From the surface of the moon. One did.
Houston, we have a problem.
The Odyssey is dying.
Failure is not an option. We're just going to figure out how to stay alive.
Tom Hanks. Apollo 13. Rated PG.
Starts Friday, June 30th at theaters everywhere.
I didn't know y'all were in this movie, Retro.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It says retro, go flight. Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah. I am that. I look good for my really old age. Yes.
There's a lot of people in this film.
There are a lot of people in this film.
All going by job names, not their actual name.
And seeing all those people and that commercial probably jogs some memories for you listening. But what did they make us remember, and what memories do we have of Apollo 13? Let's find out in our memory and mind meld synopsis for this film. In the 1960s, wait, what? Oh, it's okay. Sorry. Editing mode real quick. We can edit that out. It's okay, Francisco. Go for launch. It's the 1960s, and Forrest Gump is going to be on Apollo 12, but Doc says he can't go, so he heads up Apollo 13. Lucky him. Woody the sheriff is a castaway in space, along with his bosom buddy with aliens experience, Bill Paxton, and with 1 degree of Kevin Bacon when they all footloose it to the moon. It's game over, man, game over, as a big explosion, explosion causes Sleepless Shuttle to say that famous quote, "Planet Houston, we have a problem." But there's no crying in space, as Ed Harris takes turns between directing Mission Control and The Truman Show to get Apollo 13 home. In the end, they made a splash home. Wow,
Jeez.
so
Wow,
many
good.
references in that, but I think that was definitely decepted. But based on those memories as flawed as they were, what rain did they lead you to predict for this film before you rewatched it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with Drew this time. What was your prediction, Drew?
I went with nostalgic, not because I didn't think it was a good movie looking back on it, but because I think I'd seen some others since then that were better, so I wasn't sure if this was going to hold up as well.
I see.
So that's why we went nostalgic, just to be safe.
That's fair. Celeste, how about you?
I was going to go with nostalgic because
also.
I remember falling asleep during this movie.
Oh, wow.
That's worthy of a tragic in the Francisco Ruiz book, but all right. Ken, what was your prediction?
Classic.
Classic.
Funny that I was talking to my wife. You want to watch this with me? She goes, no. I'll probably fall asleep again. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Okay, never mind.
Let's see. Paul, what was your prediction?
I predicted classic. I remember enjoying it. I saw it in the theater and maybe once or twice after that.
For me, I also predicted classic. I remember it fondly. It's been a while though, so I was I was on that razor's edge of maybe I should predict nostalgic, but I predicted classic. So it'll be interesting to see if those predictions pan out. But first, let's get into the things we liked most about Apollo 13. Let's spin up our
Best bits.
All right, and let's start with Celeste. What's one thing you liked about Apollo 13?
Okay, well, let me pull up my notes that for some reason I had not pulled up yet. Sorry.
No worries.
Like, I was like, yeah, I'm ready.
Go for launch? No, we're not.
No. The
Where's
notes
that
on my
abort
phone.
switch?
We're not.
So, Edna mode?
Yes,
Houston,
I guess so.
we have a problem.
I'm
my
sorry.
No worries. We have all the... Oh, wait. No, we don't.
And we assure you that nothing can go wrong. Go wrong. Go wrong. Go wrong.
Oh, my word. And welcome, Ashley, Star Fox, and Baba. Hopefully you're doing well. And I think the Edna's not working. Oh, wow. You're giving me your own Edna account. Thank you, Bob. Because
Edna
I had
mode.
that in Bautissimo, and Bautissimo's sunsetting, so that's why it's not working. So I'm going to have to figure out something else.
Is it sunsetting or is it dying?
Dying, I guess. Isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yes, but I'm not in California where that's a popular term.
Oh.
Dying is not a popular term in
No,
California?
sunsetting is not a popular term.
Oh. I don't know, but...
Literally the only place I ever heard the word sunsetting is on the internet, so...
Oh, well, I know Kennethman's in Hawaii, so there it's being beaten down.
Oh my God.
So apparently, I'm going to be going off memory.
Oh,
because my notes are not there.
Oh no!
Fun fact. Okay.
Did the dog
I
eat
think
them?
well, no, it's on a note app, and I have a new note in my note app that is completely blank.
Uh-oh.
And I'm sitting here going, that should have been it. And so I was looking, and I even searched the word tragic. Notes from every other episode I've ever done with y'all, but not this one.
Okay. All right. Well, no worries.
So I'm gonna be going on the fly.
Okay.
Okay. So like.
Yes.
Like?
Yeah. So one like. Yeah.
But not your best like.
Not my best like. Okay. So I really enjoyed the music, the background music. It seemed to go really well with what was going on.
Yeah.
Even when there wasn't music, it was very well timed as to create the necessary intensity.
Absolutely, yes.
By James Horner.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think
obviously James Horner.
Really? Well, see, here's the thing. I was going to
except that one time when that one song came on.
Oh my gosh, Paul! You're just looking for reasons now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But what I think is kind of funny, well, maybe it's not funny, but it seems like the last several movies we've covered now, James Horner has directed. What did he do? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and The Rocketeer.
Maybe that's Mecha Jared's plan the whole time.
Dun dun dun.
The Horner trilogy.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm trying to look this up to see if that's. Why am I doing it this way?
I don't know.
Well, so you like the background music. While I'm looking this up, Drew, did you like
my clairvoyancy does not work at that distance, Francisco, so I can't help you.
That's great. But can you help me with what you liked about Apollo 13?
So my like and my classic maker are about even. I had a hard time deciding which one was which, and if you ask me after the show, I might change it. But I'm going to go with my like being that the authenticity of everything in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I was a space nut growing up, and I read. Yeah, you can probably blame Star Trek for that, but
They're delicious.
I was paying it. I studied like all the stuff you could as a kid you could find, and it really did feel like everything was as I remember it, the best of my ability. It's been 30 years, but good night. The movie felt extremely authentic and real.
Yes.
With everything they were.
You know, it's based on a true story, right?
I do know it's based on a true story. I have actually seen the Apollo 13 space capsule. So,
that's right. You posted that. Yeah.
Ooh, that's so cool.
I think the effects really helped with that believability.
Mm-hmm.
They still hold up today.
So, Paul, I was curious if that was going to be one of your likes. Because so often in these last few movies, it's like, these effects, man, you can totally tell it's been
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids can eat it because these effects in Apollo 13 still hold up to today.
They were really well done.
Yeah.
I agree.
I imagine there's some combination of using the actual footage and then the whatever CG technology they had back in 95.
It was all reshot, but
oh, really? Okay. Yeah, but
I read that somewhere, but I could be mistaken.
Equally impressed.
There may be something I'm going to bring up later, but we'll save that.
Okay.
So was that one of your likes, Paul, or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just adding on to it.
Okay. Well, what was one of your likes, then?
Because I already said the effects, one of the going off that, one of the things that made it believable for me was the makeup, and in that it was so subtle. Like when they started to get sick, like they looked sick. It added to that level of believability. It was so. The makeup was so well, it became unnoticeable if you were looking, like if you weren't looking for that. I was really impressed by that change and how they did it, because I was looking at them like, how did they do that? That's amazing.
They did a really good job, especially with I don't remember his name, but the one that caught a cold.
Yeah,
making him look like he felt like trash.
Yeah. Exactly. Totally. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good one, Paul. Yeah, I didn't. It was subtle enough that I didn't pick up on it, but you're totally right that it was well done. Ken, what's something that you thought was well done about this film?
So, in just a filtering process, first off, I was alive for Apollo 11 and 13.
Wow, but not 12.
I was not 12. Well, funny. And I'm an aeronautical engineer by trade. Okay, probably became that because of Apollo 11.
Oh wow.
Anyways, the story was great. I loved the engineers.
Yes.
Coming together and making that CO2 scrubber.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was everybody.
So good.
Now, mind you, the astronauts themselves, not all of them were engineers. Armstrong was an engineer, and a lot of them had engineering background, but the engineers who went together and put this all together to figure it all out, how to bring it home, and the story overall, especially Ken Mattingly, which is more, there's more to that later on. But the fact that the engineers did all this, that's what, to me, engineers rock and roll.
Yeah. That was such a beautiful, and it doesn't last very long, but it felt like such a like awesome moment. And I don't know why it was captured, why it evoked that, at least for me, this like, okay, this is go time. This is it. We got to do this. And that they're able to do it and write all the instructions for it. It's just like, I thought that was amazing too. Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Something that, circling back to one thing I liked, was the music as well. But one piece of it I wanted to really like hone in on when they're taking off. And I think it's when the first booster falls off or gets not ejected, but detaches. And there's this horn section of dun, 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 dun. I just... Dun, 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 dun. It's just like, I love that so much. That has stuck with me ever since I watched this movie. It's just so good. And I forgot to mention this earlier. I don't feel like this was painfully James Horner. I've noticed painfully James Horner, Drew, back in Rocketeer and How I Shrunk the Kids. Not so much here, but all right.
It's more subtle.
I feel like it's more so. This feels more original than some of his past.
This feels more
scores.
Cinematic. If that,
I'll go with that.
I didn't say it wasn't one of the better ones. I'm just saying it's obviously James Horner.
All right. Just saying. But what's
except
not
for that
obvious...
one piece that sounded like it came from the Navigator.
Oh my gosh, he didn't do the Fly of the Navigator.
I know, but there was one song I was like, I've heard this before. Where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, Fly to the Navigator.
All right. But what I haven't heard is your guys' classic makers. So let's get to that. And I'm going to start with you, Drew. What was your classic maker for, not Fly of the Navigator, for Apollo 13?
Hey, they're both space movies. No, they're spaceship movies. Anyway, no, my classic maker for this, and like I said, I was kind of going back and forth between this and my is the acting throughout the entire film.
Yes.
But the moment that really stuck out for me was when they're doing that flyby around the moon.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys tells Jim Lovell, you got to come see this, and he just looks at him and says, "I've seen it already."
Yeah,
and in that moment, it's like
it's
so much.
Yes,
just in not even with a lot of text. There was him saying that line, but there was a lot of just visually looking back, a lot of like
sort
nonverbal
of pain, regret, sadness, frustration,
regret, and all that between all three of those guys, and it's like, that's when you know the acting's is good. Is when they don't even have to talk and you understand what's going on between them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's a great one. Celeste, what was your classic maker?
Same as Drew's. I loved the acting. I thought that everybody in it did a phenomenal job, especially
Clint Howard. Yeah.
Yes.
Which one was Clint Howard?
He had glasses. Ron Howard's brother. He was one of the flight control or mission control people.
He was the one with the oxygen. He was the one showing the oxygen going down and told them to turn it off.
Oh yeah.
The fuel cell.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. So
yeah, but
no, especially not Lovell's wife, but the other one, the one who was pregnant. She did a really good job of like playing the mom who's trying to hold it together, but she's also stressed out, and so it's a minor part, but it's also it would have not made the movie as believable if she had not done that part as well. And so and of course Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks.
Yeah. So the actress was Tracy Reiner, who played Mary Hayes there.
Mary Hayes, that's right.
Awesome. Let's see, let's go to Ken next. What did you love most?
Well, it's similar to the other race, but the cast. Oh my gosh! I was sitting going, Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Kevin Bacon, Kathleen Quinn, even Clint Howard. Everybody on that cast. It was just tremendous. I mean, I know they're talking about a true story, and how do you evoke emotion for a true story, and you do it. It's all based on Jim Lovell's book, and it was amazing. The cast just brought this whole thing to life, and basically watching it now after how many years ago it's been, especially how much older everyone's gotten and where they are in his life. I believe Bill Paxton's passed away.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody else. Yeah. So everyone else is still around, and it's like, wow. It's just like everybody. And Gary Sinase's character, is phenomenal. And then of course Ron Howard. I mean, I had to go and figure out, did this win an Academy Award? No, did not win Academy Award.
Oh.
It got nominated for Academy Award for Best Picture, and Ed Harris did get Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was like, I think the previous year Tom Hanks got one for Forrest Gump, and I'm like, really, this is better than, I forget what movie actually was who actually won that year. But
sounds
I'm like
the Academy.
But it was an amazing. I was just sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this movie is great," and the cast just does it. So cast.
I'll go ahead and we've all been sort of talking around my classic maker, so I'll go ahead and go with that. And it includes the cast, includes so much, and I think you even said this, Drew, is that this movie feels so authentic. It feels like I'm watching a cinematic documentary almost. Everything just felt so real. Like they might as well have just filmed this while it was happening. It was just that level of authenticity. I think I said that right, but one part especially, that. And speaking to the acting, I just adored. And here's some context for me. A lot of the time, I don't really care for elderly people in movies. Like Barry's not included.
Okay.
I think Ken, you were on that one. I didn't really care.
Not only are you a Disney hater, but you're an elderly hater as well.
No, I'm giving context. I usually don't like elderly people in my movies. But the woman that played Jim Lovell's,
Francisco, you're going to be an elderly person one day.
And I'm not in movies. I'm not in movies, guys. Anyway,
ew, what's this old person doing on my screen?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, elderly people.
Let me finish.
He wants to speak more.
The actress who was, I believe, actually Ron Howard's mom, who played the grandma, Jim Lovell's.
Really, that was her. Oh, really?
Well, her last name was Howard, so I'm pretty sure that makes sense to me. That it would be. I adored her so much. I just thought she was great. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man!
Especially when
you be my grandma,
they were like,
you're great.
Especially when they like brought them in, Buzz Aldrin. And,
yes. Are you
boys
in the space program too?
I
know.
Like, are you in the space? Like just she played the line of, I don't know who you are, but my kid is on the moon.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
and I love how she comforted her granddaughter with like, don't you worry. If they could make a dishwasher to fly,
washing machine
to fly, my Jimmy could land it. She played so many levels so well. I really liked her. So anyway, the believability, acting, I think there's so much to this movie that was really great. So it's hard for me to really nail down one thing. I'm just going to say many elements of this movie. So that leaves Paul, I believe. What is your classic maker for this film?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with most everybody here and say that the cast is the best part.
Sorry, you have to agree with.
Yeah. But I'm gonna go not just the main cast, but it was great to see the lesser cast, the B characters. There were so many familiar faces.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Clint Howard, but there was also Jimmy Olsen and Marty's brother Dave, played by Mark McClure, in there.
Wait, who is he?
These are all flight control people.
He was a flight control. I didn't notice him. Oh wow.
Well,
okay.
And that one guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
One guy from Hill Street, the main NASA guy from Hill Street Blues. I remember him. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Really? Oh wow.
And Max Grodenchik is back. He played Nog on DS9, and he was also in The Rocketeer when we covered that.
Oh,
wow.
He's in there, and of course we have.
Boys have a penis.
Oh yeah.
Girls have a vagina.
From Kindergarten Cop, playing the younger brother, and then the older brother is.
Let's light this dude up.
He is.
Yeah, from Three Ninjas.
I didn't know that. Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot of people in this cast to look for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Well, guys, that is a fantastic list of likes, but alas, there can't be all likes. There's not all sunshine and roses with these films, so I think we gotta move on to.
Did you forget anything, Francisco, before we move on?
Ken, you're totally right. Did forget something.
Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah, I forgot something. Thank you so much for the help, Ken. I missed it in my notes.
This is getting out of hand, Roy.
Oh my gosh,
really is.
Okay, guys. There's one more thing I forgot I liked. The Untold Podcast. The Untold Podcast is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story presented in a unique and dynamic way. Check out the Untold Podcast at www.untoldpodcast.com to listen and leave them a review on Apple Podcasts.
Okay, so the story of Apollo 13 has been told. In fact, it was based upon the book. Mm-hmm. So what does the Untold Podcast have to do with Apollo 13?
Well, maybe you like some tense sci-fi stories, which they may
is this a sci-fi movie?
Technically, it is a historical sci-fi.
Oh,
yeah.
Science fiction.
Yeah.
I guess there is some fictionalized.
There is some fiction.
There are some fictionalized elements in the story.
Wait, you mean Tom Hanks didn't go into space?
He did
I'm not kidding.
It's all a lie.
If you read back through the credits, I know most people shut them off once that starts.
Yeah.
And I know for Paul that would be slow and boring. Not to mention white text and black background. But near the end, it did say that while based on a true story, some elements have been enhanced for dramatic purposes.
Fair enough.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So
every movie's sci-fi then. Enhanced.
All right.
The multiverse exists in film, technically.
Sure.
But fine, Paul. I guess that's not technically related to Apollo 13. How about some trivia, though, about Apollo 13?
Oh, yes. Much better.
All right. So did you all realize that Gene Kranz, who is played by Ed Harris in Apollo 13, gives a list of instructions to his team at Mission Control and finishes by saying, failure is not an option. Gene Kranz didn't actually say that during the Apollo 13 mission, but he liked the line, and it became the title for his 2000 autobiography.
Interesting.
Failure is not an option.
Exactly. Thank you, Paul. So my question to you all is, what line/quote from any movie would you use as the title for your own biography or autobiography? I'm going to start with Paul.
I would have to go with...
I got a bad feeling about this.
That's a good one.
All right. Yeah. That's fair. Celeste, how about you?
I would have to go with just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's good.
Swimming.
I like that. Drew?
I'm going to have to go with Mostly Harmless.
Where's that from?
Mostly.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay. Ken, how about you?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Ooh, that's good.
Oh,
That's
that
strong.
is a good
I
one.
like it. Very cool.
And Captain, what say you?
Back to the Future. That's the title of a movie. No. So here's some context, guys. If I at one point in my this is something you probably don't know about your captain. I did get my helicopter pilot's license at one point. So if I ever go back to flying a helicopter in some point in the future, and that's like an arc to my life story, the name of the book would be "Get to the Chopper."
That'd be good.
So,
all right.
Otherwise, I got nothing.
Okay, I knew you were taking lessons. I didn't know you got your license, or I'd forgotten that.
Well,
That's cool.
it's certainly lapsed by now, but yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Apollo 13.
So D. Tungsten says, I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but I'd guess classic?
I'm sorry, Edna mode.
No worries.
There it goes. Sorry, it was stuck. Okay. James Felix says, one of the definitive NASA movies exemplifies why you never give up, never surrender. No, he didn't say never surrender.
Wow.
But he goes on to say, when failure is not an option, you study the problem and find a solution. And you, sir, are a steely-eyed missile man.
Yes. Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, I remember that there's some sort of problem that Houston needs to be made aware of.
Yes.
Wow.
And Philip Hurd says, great cast and effects. Ron Howard built suspense and fleshed out a true story that kept you on the edge of your seat. Decades later, he pulled it off again with 13 Lives, an underappreciated recent film.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing your memories. Excuse me. Thank you all for sharing your memories. And you know what? None of them seemed overly negative, but we may have a problem. We may need to phone Houston after spinning the oxygen tanks here, because it's time to get to our
worst woes.
Indeed. And I'll go ahead and start off the dislike section.
Oh, come on.
With so Celeste, you mentioned this is something you liked, and in a way I think it's valuable.
In a way, but not valuable enough.
Okay, so here's the thing. I totally understand why why the filmmakers would cut to the astronaut wives and children, and I think there are several moments where those are important and are really capture the emotion. But I think they cut to them for lots of reasons that seem like they don't add value to the movie, and I feel like they either need to extend those or do something else with them to make them more impactful. Because Like one is, I think you see, I forget her name. What's Lovell's wife's name? Jen Lovell?
Mrs. Level.
Wow.
Not Mrs. Lovett.
No, Marilyn Lovell.
Marilyn, right.
She like just walks into a room and you see this. Sometimes this works. I feel like it often doesn't, where they use the lens that half of it is in focus for one length and the other half is focused for a close up. And so in the middle, there's a blur.
Perception.
Yeah. Well, but so it's so that you can have two objects in very far distances in focus. And so they have that for the NASA speaker and her, and she like sits on the chair and she's upset, crying, of course, as the NASA speaker's going. I'm like, this doesn't need to be here. I really don't need this moment. We know she's sad. I feel like this.
Oh, she's crying. Get her off the screen. She's like one of those elderly people. So emotional crying and elderly
not
people.
all the time.
Emotional damage.
I just felt like there needed to be more to that than just showing her in a speaker. I felt like that they wasted what would have been an otherwise more impactful moment. So, I feel like they did that a lot with the women in this film. So that was my either cut it or make it better. So that's my dislike. Let's
I'd
go.
agree with that. Not about the like emotional nonsense, but yeah, it could have been cut.
Wow. Let's go to Celeste next. How was I wrong, Celeste?
I actually don't disagree with you entirely.
Okay.
Except I feel like there should have been more of the people on Earth in the movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I found it confusing. Like at the beginning, it shows his older son and younger son, and then all throughout the middle of the movie, it just shows the mom with the two daughters, like going to grandma's house and going here and there until the end. The boys are back, and it's like, well, where were the boys the whole movie?
Except for that one who is at military school.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, but we didn't know that till the end.
Yeah. Well, there's several shots where there's like that he's in the military academy, and they showed the whole class watching it.
Yeah, but that was at the end.
Yeah. It was one of those things of they could have filled in some of the quieter portions of the movie with dealing with the backlash of what's going on Earth. They could have dealt with the other families, because there was other people that were involved. Like could have focused on Mission Control's family, the guy whose wife made him the vest. Like,
oh, that would have been cool. Yeah.
Like, she's not necessarily a part of the main story, but it would have been cool for her to go, my husband is dealing with this and I'm concerned for him, because clearly she was involved. So
yeah, I agree with that to an extent, Celeste. I feel like there's so many characters already that would be hard to add more characters, but I totally get what you're saying with that. The one character that I feel like we didn't really need much of was the one played by Xander Berkeley, and I like Xander Berkeley in a lot of things, but he's like this guy he's like a press person that talks with Marilyn Lovell some, talks with the press some, and I feel like most of his scenes, he's one of these that I feel like I don't know why he's
just like a way to connect the characters.
I guess, yeah, it's almost like an audience surrogate in a way. For
it's funny. It's kind of like that guy from Grumman. It's like, Gene, it's we never turned him on before. He goes, don't worry about it. We're not going to sue you. Kind of, it's like, get you in trouble, right? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I mean, it's a legitimate statement. He said that they never did it before, but I'm like, really? Was he actually thinking that? It was like, was that the way the culture was, that if you make a mistake at that, like, I thought that was kind of out of place for the movie, trying to get this thing like you're trying to cover your butt. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know what I don't know. Yeah, and both those moments, I know what you're talking about. I don't think that added anything. It just was we're already tense enough. We don't need to add more like that. That felt like, unnecessary for sure. All right.
I get while I've not read the book, I get the feeling that may have been an element it was in the book that they were trying to preserve.
Oh, man.
The book can do more than the 2.5-hour movie can.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, for
exactly.
Sure. Andrew, what do you feel like this movie could have done more of or less of?
So normally, I will admit this is a horrible nitpick.
Okay.
Normally, I am a fan of opening credits, unless, well, I can understand why Paul doesn't like some of them, but I've been regretting as time has gone on us losing opening credits. But this movie actually has a pretty decent reason why you maybe don't always want opening credits, because you at the end of the film you have this dramatic moment. It's like, are they going to survive? And if you don't know anything about the actual story, you may not know if they survived the landing or not.
Right.
Unless you were paying attention to the opening credits and saw the thing where it said based on a book by Jim Lovell.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he could have written it before the crash. So it's a horrible nitpick. It really shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But the first thing I thought of when I got to that point was like, well, this is overly dramatic for the fact that we know he survived.
Oh, so you're saying because you saw the credit with his name, you knew the ending.
Right.
Yeah. Not necessarily ending, but I knew he survived. So this whole dramatic, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, we've not heard from them, blah, blah, blah. I'm going, we know he survived. There was a credit.
I felt the same way when watching this for a second and third time.
Like I said, this is a horrible nitpick.
Well, no, so I get that point, because the tension for me at times is the fact that how close they came to dying. I'm grateful that I knew this in the story they survived.
I'm trying to think of this from the perspective of somebody who went to the theater 1995 just because it was the brand new
big Hollywood
blockbuster movie, and maybe did not keep up with history or the news at the time, and did not know if the new Apollo 13 had this trouble. They know the line, Houston, we have a problem, and all that stuff, but they may not know how it ended. So,
but did you die?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, it's a horrible nitpick. It really doesn't matter, but
that's why they always say if you're gonna watch Star Wars, don't watch episode 1, 2, and 3 until you watch 4 and 5, because that reveal I'm your father. Like, I already knew that. I saw 1, 2, and 3. Doesn't mean
I actually agree with this. So
yes. Okay, that's totally fair, Drew. So next time when they do a re-release, they should say written by John Lovell's ghost and really mess with people.
No. I'm just saying
for the end.
No, I get his point.
Saving the credit for the story by the end credits. That's all I'm
absolutely
saying.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right. Let's go with Ken. What's something you didn't like?
It's funny. It's not a bad thing. To me, it's about the reality. What really got me was the fact that they Ken Mattingly, has measles, or they might have measles, and he scrubbed him. He's like, I get measles, okay? But they knew, because for me at least, in 1964 when I was birthed, okay, my mom had German measles while pregnant.
Oh, really?
So there was an epidemic in 64. A lot of kids were born with hearing losses and blind and whatnot. I have a hearing loss, okay, but I'm not deaf. And so for me, I'm like, really, you scrubbed him off because he possibly came in contact with measles. That to me was a bad thing. It was a sad thing. I know it's true, but it's one of the things I didn't like with the movie. But it's also reality, and I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, just like wow, and so I looked him up, right? And I think that Mattingly did go to the moon. I think another Apollo level. But I forget. But it's like the way that life just changes overnight with someone being exposed. That's why I didn't like the movie at all.
I thought Lieutenant Dan didn't go to the moon because he didn't have no legs.
That's true. It helps to have some legs, even though you don't need legs flying in space,
Yeah.
I mean, not necessary.
I mean
you got to pump the brake or something. I don't know.
They did have that crime on the moon they could really use a CSI agent for.
Yep,
so
that's true.
I will say, and this may come up in the spiritual speculation, but I think it's actually something I wonder about is if he had gone up, I don't think Jack Swagger would have been the one to have figured out the whole power situation to get them back home. So that's just an interesting thing.
There.
Yes.
That's something that I liked. I thought about them too.
Yeah.
The movie.
That leaves Paul, I think, before we get to our tragic makers.
Well, going off what Ken said about reality, this is this may be a false.
It's a little too wrath.
Well, it's just like in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where it said one of my dislikes was like, oh, the ant is the same size as the scorpion, but then
I think the rocket is that big.
There are species of ants that are as big as scorpions and vice versa.
I looked it up. I think you misread it because there's no 6-inch ant, Paul. There's 1.6 inches. But
maybe
there's no 6 inch.
And I read
maybe that's what it was, or something like that.
but anyway, there are small scorpions, but not.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
regardless.
But so this might turn out to be one of those where it appears like it could be wrong, but maybe it is right. Okay. So I'm glad we have some science people here. So what took me out of the movie is when they're coming back to Earth, they're in their little capsule and they're going through the atmosphere and it's like burning and the parachutes haven't come out yet. But as they're going, the ice from space and the moisture is melting. And as they're going down, the water drops are dropping fast within the ship. But if they're at a free fall, the water should be falling at the same speed and not dropping down on them because gravity. Oh my
gosh!
You're
right.
considered that.
It's Galileo's.
Because the way they were.
It doesn't matter how you're tilted. The water should be falling at the same rate as they are.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like all the friction of the atmosphere is making them move slower than the gravity pulling the water toward them.
But they're at a free fall. They have the chutes haven't.
Free fall is different from going through the atmosphere, though. Because
all
the friction is causing the fire.
You know, there's only one way to solve this. Let's go up and find out.
No, thank you.
I don't particularly want to be in that situation.
Let me get Elon on the phone real quick. Hold on.
Down. It wouldn't come off. It would just stick. It would be because
yeah,
you're going down. So typical force.
It would
would just
melt
push it up.
and stay where it is.
It would stay where it's at. It wouldn't fall down.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Unless it's on the. Unless it's in front of them and it comes up to them, but not comes down on them.
Yeah.
But,
they're facing.
Would it move?
They're facing space. Their backs are to the
G-forces
earth.
should be moving all that condensation to the cone, not towards the heat shield.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So this
Well,
took
it's like
me
driving
out
a
of the
car.
movie because
I've ridden a roller coaster. I know how those G-forces affect you.
Yeah, I lost a penny or two.
I lost a phone.
I don't. Oh no. I don't know, Paul. I think I can at least rationalize in my head, but I could be wrong. I'm not
Exactly. I was like,
anything.
I don't know the science behind it. I think I could see it going either way, but but as I was seeing those droplets in the pod there, I was going, I question this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was dramatic, but you're right. Yeah.
So then let's get to our tragic makers, guys, and let's start with Celeste. What's the thing you hated most about this film?
I hated the pacing.
Oh, really?
Houston, we have a problem.
Pacing.
It was too good and too fast. You're like, slow this thing down.
It had,
I hate it when it's too good. I agree with you, Celeste. Go for it.
It went between being like super intense and super engaging to just nothing. Like we're just
slow and boring,
floating around. Exactly. Like the reason I put this as nostalgic is because I feel like it's one of those movies that you should watch at least once. But honestly, there's a reason I haven't seen it since I was a teenager. Because the only thing I remembered was that I fell asleep a lot when I watched it.
Interesting.
And Ed Harris scares me.
So the only defense I have for this is that it being based on true events, it doesn't necessarily follow the dramatic structure.
And that's true. And then
I
also
liked the pacing, actually.
Knowing that Jim Lovell wrote it makes a lot more sense to me because he was very analytical.
Oh,
and
you
so,
mean he was slow and boring?
Exactly. But he's looking at it from a technical point of view, and really, we as the audience didn't need all the technicals. He could have glazed over some of that, and it would have been fine.
No,
I as an engineer liked it, I guess, because I liked some of the technical stuff. But
here's what I'll say to that, Celeste. For me, I unfortunately had to watch it like split up a little bit throughout the day. I couldn't just watch
like
it
the
on
real world.
I couldn't watch it all in one sitting. However, as opposed to other movies where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've only been through 30 minutes of this. I'm like, I want to get back to this. I want to keep going. So I was always enthused to come back to keep going, as opposed to
That's
some
because
movies
you
where
weren't
I'm
paying
like,
attention to the credits. You didn't know if they were going to survive.
Exactly.
that's true. I wasn't paying attention to the credits.
Because the credits were slow and boring.
Oh my word! But okay, if it was sort of slow to you, or it was poorly paced for you, Celeste, all right, that's totally fair. Ken, that doesn't sound like that was your tragic maker at all. But what was your tragic maker for this film?
Well, you know what's interesting was that it was a struggle to find any bad things in this movie. I generally enjoyed the whole movie. That's why I was shocked to find it didn't win an Academy Award.
Yeah.
For Best Picture. I was
move over
Braveheart.
Well, Braveheart,
yeah, Braveheart. That's right.
Okay,
Braveheart won, yeah,
that's right.
So I get it. And I mean, I like the kiss. I mean, nothing to take away from Celeste. I like the pacing because of how it went from being very shocking and fast, because like the moments of panic and the quietness that happens when those guys are just sitting there in the capsule just waiting. But my tragic maker was the fantasy scenes of Jim Lovell on the moon.
Oh, on the moon?
Yeah.
While they're slingshotting around the moon, they're like he's fantasying about how he was on the moon.
No one daydreams.
Well, I understand daydreaming, but why is this in the movie? It got nothing to do with it except the fact that you missed it. I guess in a sense, I read Jim Lovell puts in the book where, like, I as we're going around the room, I was sat there just daydreaming about me landing. We practiced this so many times.
I think
it's so close.
It's to dramatically show his want and what he's missing, and but that could have been done in 3 seconds, not 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I will. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
No, that's well said. Yeah, like that.
So it's interesting because that dovetails very well to my tragic maker. I will say I think that dream sequence, I think it could have been shorter for sure, but him in that dream looking at the Earth from the moon, I think helps us as the audience and him realize, no, my mission is to get home to Earth, not to land on the moon. However,
that was weird. Did those guys really think about just dropping down to the moon? He's like saying, "Oh, guys, no, we need to get home." Like,
well,
what?
So
were they actually thinking about dropping down?
Okay, would you stop talking over my tragic maker, which is essentially that right now?
Oh my!
I thought we were going over tragic maker.
I know, but anyway, so there's this moment where, just like you were saying, Ken, where they're looking at that, and then Jim Lovell, Tom Hanks, sort of stops. This is pretty much right after his daydream. He says, "Gentlemen, what are your intentions?" And it seems very out of place. It's like,
okay. Yeah, I agree.
Mine is to get home. I mean, and that's good. That to get home and sort of refocusing, that's fine. But that seems very out of place. Apparently, this is IMDb trivia I was reading. There's more context to that. Apparently, Fred Hayes and Jack Swigert were taking pictures of the moon and stuff. They were very distracted and they weren't focused on what they needed to do. So that's what compelled them to say, "Hey guys, what are your intentions here? Mine's to get home." And so I think, I don't know why they didn't. They spent time with tons of other things. I don't know why they didn't spend some time just adding to that context some. But I can see what you're saying, Ken. I think that dream sequence was a bit too long. I think the dream that his wife had, though, I think that was important to sort of add to her tension, her fear, and then her losing her wedding ring, which actually happened, apparently. I think all those sort of omens were great. I want more of those with the at-home characters. Anyway, that is my tragic maker. I get it sort of links to your tragic maker. And let's hear from Drew. What did you hate most about this film?
So I didn't get a chance to look up how many of the shots in here were practical effects and how much CG they used. Because I could tell there was at least some model work in here.
Sure.
But there was one moment where it's like, oh, yeah, this did come out the same weekend as Power Rangers because the CG is about that bad. That was the waste dispersal.
Yes.
Because
particle effects weren't the best back then.
You got the animation guy on here. I'm going to notice this stuff. the particle effect, I looked and went, oh, that's pitiful. Granted, it's the best they probably could do in 1995.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you this movie had a ton more budget than anything else that came out that year.
Even Power Rangers.
Including, especially Power Rangers. But I looked at that and went, oh, that could be sparks. That could be the only reason we know what that is context.
Oh,
that's fair.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's just a little thing that bugged me and burrowed in there. Granted, like I said, I have no idea how the CG was used in the rest of it, though I have some suspicions. But the one that really just and if there is CG, rest of it mostly blended in perfectly. But this one moment, made me go, oh, you should have spent a little bit more time polishing that urine.
Wow. Paul, you're in deep with Tragic Makers. So what was yours? How's that segue?
Yeah, me too. But I'm gonna have to disagree with Drew and not spend more time. Just cut it out completely.
I go with that too.
The whole thing. I'm right along with Celeste. This movie was way too long. It was so slow, and there are a lot of unnecessary scenes, like the whole urinating and the talking about it. We've talked about so many things that could have been cut. Like it is just it's not you. It's at the 51-minute mark where we finally get.
Houston, we have a problem.
I mean, that's a long way. That's over half the runtime of some movies. Like, and we don't need that. There's a lot of stuff going on. Let's get to it.
I agree, Ken. I think a lot of character development happens in that.
It's unnecessary and it slows the pacing down, and it could have just stopped.
I'm going to tell you. Well, actually, I'll say
I think you're wrong.
Well, you can think all you want. It doesn't mean that I am.
I will say, when I was trying to think back on this one before I watched it, I could have sworn the Houston We Had a Problem was like at 3/4 of the way through the film. But then my memories of the whole film were jumbled. I thought a lot of that stuff for some reason was before that. I don't know why. But
because the pacing is off.
I don't know.
Also, I watched this movie when I was 10.
I don't think it's a pacing issue. I think it's too many superfluous scenes.
Block up. So the pacing is off.
But I don't think it changes the. I don't think it affects the pacing overall. But I can see what you guys are saying. And you know what? Now that we've said all our pieces, what? Now that we've entered all our
I said my piece.
Firing trajectories into the firing computer, Alice, you have a firing solution for us.
Oh, it's time for a salvo authority? Is that what you meant?
Firing solution.
I mean,
complete.
Travis.
Authority accepted.
Second time this
Ratings
episode.
prepared to launch.
I was 31 when I saw this movie.
You could have told me the first time, Drew.
I was now.
I didn't want to talk over Tom Hanks.
Now it's time for the moment of truth. Do we rate Apollo 13 a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth revisiting if you saw it as a kid or a young adult and you have fond memories of it. Yeah, give it a rewatch. But if you've never seen it before, probably just pass this one by. Or is it a tragic? We'd recommend no one see this. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. Go see maybe Apollo 13 Dark Side of the Moon.
No.
And if you have seen it before, don't sell any good memories you have of it with a rewatch.
Apollo 13 Dark Side of the Moon only has like a star rating of 2 on IMDb.
Well, what do they know?
Wow. That's pretty low for IMDb.
Okay. Let's start with Celeste. What is you had predicted nostalgic. Where did it end up for you?
I'm going to put it as a classic.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's so poorly paced.
Amen.
While I would not say, yeah, let's watch this all the time, I do think it is important for everyone to watch. And the acting is just so good.
It is, yeah.
That if you can, do something during the slow parts to keep yourself awake, then it's a very good representation of a historical movie.
Jessica Tandy, take note. This is how you act.
Wow. The Oscar winner needs to learn. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But thank you, Celeste. Okay, so classic from you. Ken, how about you?
Classic. Absolutely classic.
What?
Oh my gosh, even more classic than when I first started thinking about this movie.
Really? Oh,
Watching
wow.
it again, I said when I had to go. Didn't this win Academy Award? It was nominated, but it didn't win. Like I said, Braveheart won. I'm like, this was so good. Ron Howard did a great job. The acting, the script, the story, the engineers, the whole thing about what NASA did. Bringing people back to the moon. Whether Gene Cernan said it or not about there's no option to failure. Right? That was NASA. That was the engineers. That was the Apollo space program that did that. The train, they did over and over and over again for every simulation. Even the CO2 scrubbers. Okay, apparently I read a story that the people who had the scrubbers they actually did run a simulation about how they could do a square in a circular to the path. So it wasn't like it was totally unfounded, but the whole movie just perfect. It was just like, yes, classic.
Awesome. Now, if only we actually went to the moon, that'd be great.
You did before and after.
Let's go to Drew next. You had predicted nostalgic. Did it stay that way for you or change?
It actually went up to a classic.
Whoa.
And that's not a big surprise because I just wasn't sure if it was going to hold up after, 30 years now? Just hard to think that's been 30 years ago, but either way.
Right. Jeez Louise.
Gosh, how old am I? Jeez.
It held up well. Like I said, the only real issue I had was that one CG moment. And I can see why some people may not like this as well, but it's a classic film and I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Now let's go to our reflux capacitors. Last time I checked, there weren't any votes, and that's okay. We appreciate you guys for supporting us anyway. Well, you wouldn't double vote anyway, Ken. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But,
how would you have known?
But we have no votes from you guys, but thank you everyone for your support. So let's go to Paul next. What was your, you had predicted classic. Where did it end up for you?
Seriously, the pacing is an issue for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rate this, unfortunately, a classic. Because it is
you
a
had
great
me going there, Paul.
Cast, great story, but watch out for the pacing.
All right, that's fair. For me, I had so much emotion going throughout this movie, and I'm not really sure why. Some of it was, I think, being a dad. Some of it was just the tension of, are these three going to get home? Because apparently I missed that in the credits, whether that it was written by the.
And it's a good movie.
I mean, yeah, it's a good movie, well acted. Everything you guys have said. I felt so invested in these characters. And so it's definitely a classic for me as well.
What?
So I'm curious. So according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Apollo 13 a unanimous, wow, with 5 votes, unanimous classic film. I'm curious though, would you all, we'll just go real quick. Is this your top Ron Howard film? Like, of all his films, would this be the one you say people should watch, or would you put something else above
what
it?
else would you suggest would be? Well, let's see. I forget what you did.
Solo.
Not Solo. Backdraft or.
Don't know enough about Ron Howard to know.
Yeah.
Yes or no.
I'm
Watch
checking
Andy
IMDb.
Yeah, there's.
Well, I know that.
Backdraft. Willow is one of his. Apollo 13, of course. Yes, Solo. He did the Grinch. The Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey.
You're not naming the good ones.
I know.
Willow's not a good one. How dare you?
I don't know. I didn't see Willow.
Oh my god!
Not top of.
Out of all of those that you've mentioned, I've seen 2.
Okay.
So I
Apollo 13
probably
then.
don't
Backdraft
have an
was decent,
opinion.
Okay. No,
It's
that's
one of his better ones. For me, I would say it's his last good one, like great one.
You know what?
I should say.
I would be behind that too. I feel like it is one of his final really good. Though I haven't seen. Oh, someone mentioned 13 Lives in the.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
I haven't seen that. I wanted to see it, but I haven't seen it.
I mean, I do like Solo to some degree, but
Right.
really, this is the.
I keep
the
waiting
last
for
good
the
one he
deep
did.
fake version where they use Harrison Ford young down. But go ahead.
Wow.
What were you saying, Drew? Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, yeah, this is probably his last great film.
I mean,
I've also
Mind,
not watched a
Cinderella
lot
Man's
of
pretty good.
Ron Howard films. I
Yeah.
mostly know Ron Howard is
Parenthood.
playing Opie Taylor on Andy Griffith
Yes.
show.
Yeah,
sure,
Richie
yes.
Cunningham can go sit
Night
on.
Shift. I mean, some of those are decent movies, but no, to me, this one's the best one. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Braveheart might be better, but we'll see.
well, but that's not a Ron Howard movie.
no.
But that's interesting because I mean, I like Braveheart, but
Yeah.
I gotta watch Braveheart again. But I like this movie right now.
Oh.
It's better than Braveheart, but
He did Far and Away.
Yeah,
Yes, he
I was
did.
surprised to see that. I'm like, really? He did Far and Away, but
I really liked that movie. That was one that I watched repetitively for a while.
oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I remember. I remember liking that. I haven't seen.
I
it
was
for a
like
while.
13.
It's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
the '92.
I mean, it's not bad. It's good.
Well, no.
Tom
I was
Cruise.
watching it in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was I was watching it on VHS.
Gotcha.
But
so
now it's time. Ooh,
I was about to say, so we rated it unanimous classic.
Yes.
That's correct.
One would say that
Failure is not an option.
Apparently
movie.
not.
Right.
But
Very
now
You're a
it's,
Mythbuster.
but our Travis, our trajectories for where we're going next, we are failing at that. So we're gonna stick around 1995 for a bit and see where we can find everyone. Travis.
Return to 20XX overridden. Comsats broadcasting while awaiting return coordinates.
I want to go home.
too bad.
20x6. Stop it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it feels good to still be in 1995, I think.
Yeah, the prices are much better.
But we
I was
went,
31.
Gasoline.
31. My youngest was 1 year old. Okay, I guess so.
but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1995 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions. Oh, you're right here with Celeste.
Woohoo!
Drew of the Cellcast, you're here too. Ashley Ruiz, Kenneth, and who's here as well?
The trifecta.
Baboose Lomax, Rosie Lomax, that's our Bobo, D. Tungsten, Dale, Mr. Lost, Gerald Hafner, Cool Deluxe, and Dustin Warford, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
Do it now.
And since Ken is here and he helps us review a lot of our Star Wars stuff, this next clip is dedicated to him.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational stream, sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
Nice. That is cool.
Wow.
So, Francisco, are there any ways that people could support the show without denting their bank account?
Oh, actually, yes. If you're saving up for a Death Star, you don't have money to support the show, that's fine.
It needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
I would say
Last one got a couple of pops and dings in it.
Third time's a charm. You know.
Oh my word. You listening now probably enjoyed this episode if you've made it this far. So if you aren't driving, tap the share icon in your podcast player for this episode and send it to a friend saying, I know you like Apollo 13, or I know you like space movies. So I thought you would like this podcast on it.
Yeah.
If you
Siri,
are
subscribe
driving
now.
If you are driving, please pull off to the side of the road before you click share, or otherwise you will crash and burn and cause a lot of death.
Indeed. Then failure
Okay,
will be
Google,
an
sign up
option.
now.
Oh my God.
And I'll bet they'll thank you for it. I mean, the people that you share it with, hopefully.
Yes.
That you shared safely.
Indeed.
So, but we also want to, speaking of thanking people, we want to give a big virtual NASA engineer space hug. That's a good one, I hope.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
To Celeste and Drew and Ken for supporting us with their thoughts about Apollo 13. And we like to go alphabetical order. So let's start with Celeste. Is there anything cool that you got going on that people can find online about you?
They can check out Geek Devotions at geekdevotions.com. It's basically where we have all of our stuff linked to. Other than that, not really doing anything cool. All of my extra stuff has taken a back seat because my job takes a lot of my brain power now, whereas it didn't used to. So a lot of my extra stuff that I do, I've kind of put on pause.
Okay.
And there are 8 reasons not to watch them, okay? Don't forget that. So
Yes.
All right.
Well, no, support. 8 reasons not to support.
That's right. That's support.
Oh, yes.
But you should support him anyway.
Yes,
Go
indeed.
Defy him and support him. So, Drew, where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
You can find me at the cellcast.podbean.com, where we review animated movies and television shows. We just finished finally with a year of X-Men.
Yeah.
And and then we're going to be starting next week with some emotional damage of our own with Evangelion.
Oh no! Sorry,
but I might have PTSD from that one.
Movie wise, though, going to be doing some Christmas stuff coming up, and then we'll see how next year looks.
Okay, great,
very cool.
And Ken, thank you. How can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
Well, you can find me on Twitch at Kennethan. So I've been kind of not streaming regularly because I've been over here in Hawaii for the last 3.5 weeks. But I stream, most times playing different games, as well as playing some train games, and also I have a show with Sir Jazio and Solomon called the Trinity MMORPG Show. So we kind of just look at the different news for MMORPGs and talk about it. So we have fun doing that.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Thank you again so much, Celeste, Drew, Ken, my mission controller friend Paul, and all you rewinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
All right. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord and stay up to date on the card game I am designing, Junkyard Juggernauts, at junkyardjuggernauts.com.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
Thank you, Houston. And as Mission Control just said, we are now part of Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
Thank you, EXO, and thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all later for the next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
Rewinders of the Lost Pod mission complete. Review audio ship's logs for more details.
I'd say that was a pretty successful broadcast.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Are we still lost in space?
No Kevin Bacon, Paul?
No, he cut out here footloose like.
Oh my gosh. No, we haven't covered Lost in Space. The one with friends, Matt LeBlanc, 1990 something.
I'm just thinking, are we still in Lost in Space? We're never getting home to 20XX.
I mean, you guys aren't. You're not lost in space. But we're still trying to get all the escape pods back.
I thought they were with us in the escape pod. We're collecting all the escape pods with them in it, so they're stuck with us.
I mean, no, they've come back on a mission with us. The escape pods are down on the planet Fukusa.
But if they go back to 20XX, then Mecha Jared will find them. Yeah. I thought that's why we can't go back.
D-Lit's got a pretty decent masking program, so I'm safe.
We're not going back, but they're not. Wait,
I want to go back.
I'm going to the planet Geekery, so
yeah,
I have a different home.
Hold on, guys.
It'll make more sense if the Impossible Drive would just your
Improbability Drive.
Yeah.
So, thank you all for watching. Bobo, Paul, Rushmore, Yoshi, Star Fox. Appreciate you all.
Welcome.
We're gonna move over to the spiritual speculation section, so I'm gonna stop the stream. But thank you all so much, and we'll.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye guys.
Bye.